Alright guys, welcome back to Underground Science, and in this video we'll be talking about the aldosterone production in Zona Glomerulosa part 3. Alright, so in the previous two parts we've talked about what happens when adrenocorticotropic hormone binds to the Zona Glomerulosa cell. We've talked about what happens when angiotensin II binds and the quick overview of how angiotensin II is even formed and so we've talked about what angiotensin II does when it binds to the G protein coupled receptors on the Zona glomerulosa cells. Sorry for saying Zoma. Was talking too fast there. And then so now what happens? Now we'll talk about what happens now, like after we have our protein kinase A and protein kinase C. All right. So now what's going to happen? What will happen inside the cell, our intracellular mechanism, right? That will lead to the production of aldosterone. So just a few steps, and I'm just going to mention like one or two enzymes that are important in the catalyzation reactions to form aldosterone from cholesterol. All right, so let's go and get started. So this is another cutout of the cell membrane of a zona glomerulosa cell of our adrenal cortex. And so this is going to be the inside of the cell, all right? So the inside of the cell. So what's going to happen is that we're going to see that, remember, our aldosterone is a cholesterol hormone, or is in particular a steroid hormone, not a protein hormone. So it's not going to be made through transcription and translation. It's going to be made through certain reactions, starting from cholesterol. It's going to be a cholesterol derivative hormone. All right, so cholesterol is going to be present inside the cell, right, inside the zona glomerulosa cell, cholesterol, and so let's just go right through basic reactions, and we'll mention what protein kinase A, C, and some enzymes play a part of. So cholesterol will then get converted into a molecule called pregnenolone. So pregnenolone. Then pregnenolone will get converted into progesterone, which we'll talk about in the reproductive system playlist in a future time, right? Progesterone. Then progesterone is going to get converted into a molecule called 11-deoxycorticosterone, right? So corticosterone, and then 11-deoxycorticosterone is then going to be converted into corticosterone, and then corticosterone will then be converted into aldosterone, all right? Corticosterone will then be converted into aldosterone. This happens inside the zona glomerulosa cell in the adrenal cortex, all right? And so you can see that aldosterone is a steroid hormone because it's derived from cholesterol. Now, so let's discuss certain enzymes that are important. When progesterone converts to 11-deoxycorticosterone, there's an important enzyme here to catalyze this reaction, all right? This enzyme is going to be called 21-hydroxylase. All right, so that's that enzyme. And there's another enzyme right after that's pretty important that catalyzes the step between 11-deoxycorticosterone to corticosterone, and this enzyme is going to be called 11-beta-hydroxylase. All right, so 11-beta-hydroxylase. So it's important to know these two enzymes because these two enzymes are important in catalyzing these two reactions. All right. So 11-beta-hydroxylase, when we go from 11-deoxycorticosterone to corticosterone, and then 21-hydroxylase, when we go from progesterone to 11-deoxycorticosterone. All right, and so those are the enzymes, and that's the reaction that happens that leads to aldosterone production. Now, one thing we also have to see is that, remember these amazing phosphorylating kinases that we made through the intracellular G protein coupled receptor mechanism, right? So remember our PIP2, DAG, and IP3 pathway that led to the stimulation of protein kinase C, which will then phosphorylate certain reactions. And then remember protein kinase A was initially made from the binding of a first messenger of adrenocorticotropic hormone released by our corticotropes in our anterior pituitary gland. So mostly it's acting this protein kinase C that will mostly carry out the effects and will drive the reactions from cholesterol to aldosterone, right? So this will be the most effective, and protein kinase A will also help a little bit also. So what's going to happen is that protein kinase C, and protein kinase A will both help and drive these reactions that we see, drive these conversions all the way from cholesterol to pregnenolone to progesterone to 11-deoxycorticosterone to corticosterone to aldosterone. Well, the protein kinase C and protein kinase A will drive all these reactions throughout, along with our important enzymes like 21-hydroxylase and 11-beta-hydroxylase, right? And then the protein kinase C and A will help make aldosterone. So that's the point of stimulating protein kinase A, so that protein kinase A can go phosphorylate, right? So it'll be phosphorylating these steps, can go phosphorylate and drive the reaction forward so we can end up making our aldosterone. And then one thing to note that we'll talk about in our kidney playlist also later is that aldosterone can go to a structure in the kidney and the nephron especially called the distal convoluted tubule of the kidney, right? Of the kidney nephron, I should say. And it can go there and act as inserting pores, right, inside the cell, right, inside the cells that line the distal convoluted tubule, insert pores and insert more channels so that more sodium can exit the fluid that's inside the lumen of the nephron, right? And so if more sodium exits and gets reabsorbed, so pretty much at the end aldosterone will end up causing these two things mainly. An increased reabsorption of sodium into the blood, and an increased blood volume. Now, how would blood volume increase? Well, remember, wherever sodium goes, water gets attracted to it because it's a solute. So both of these, reabsorption of sodium and the increase in blood volume, will both increase blood pressure, which is the whole goal of aldosterone production and secretion. All right, remember it started way back when renin was produced from the juxtaglomerular cells of the kidney. So that's pretty much it for this video. That's what I wanted to get through this video. Hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Hopefully it wasn't too confusing and it made sense. I'll see you guys in my future videos. We'll talk about more cool topics about chem, bio, and physics. Make sure to hit that notification bell, like, and subscribe, and see you guys later, and stay safe.